This is the tale of the twin silos farm, a quiet place that looked exactly like a picture-perfect postcard setting. The sheep and the twin pillars of perfection. In the age of the perfect frame, no one did it better than Farmer Silas. Silas didn't grow much corn anymore, and he certainly didn't spend his days mucking out stalls. Instead, he wanted people to notice his silos as they drove by. He wanted people to notice him and his surroundings, and then share it with everyone so he would get more visitors, and maybe even get famous online. He had painted his silos a weathered, rustic gray that looked intentional in the afternoon sun. Between them, he hung a flag so crisp it seemed to repel dust by sheer force of patriotism. Even the sun seemed to hang in the sky like a curated light fixture, illuminating the fields of lavender and wild clover just so. In the middle of this meadow paradise lived Barnaby. Barnaby was a sheep who lacked vision. He'd chew clover all day long. While the other sheep around him practiced their poses for the onlooking tourists that had pulled their cars over to take photos, Barnaby just looked at the tourists. Then he looked down, and he ate and ate all the clover down at his feet. On one Tuesday afternoon, Farmer Silas was in a panic. A famous travel influencer was rumored to be passing through this way, and right past his twin silos. This was going to be the moment that the silo farm could get famous and go global. "The flag is drooping," Silas shouted, sprinting across the pasture, waving his arms in despair. "Look at the silos, they have a streak of birdlime on the left side. And the sheep, look at the sheep. They're all huddled under the trees where the sunlight is not shining. No one can see them." He whistled for his sheepdogs, not to herd the flock for shearing, but to position them. He wanted a scattered yet intentional look across the meadow. The dogs started to nudge the sheep into the wildflowers. Barnaby, however, had refused to move. He found a particularly succulent patch of clover right in the foreground, near a white fence that Silas had spent days painting to look fresh. "Move, you woolly sheep," Silas hissed. "You're blocking the towers. You're ruining the view of the silos." Barnaby looked up. He looked at the massive stone silos, imposing, hollow, and filled with nothing but echoes. He looked up at the flag. It was beautiful but provided no shade. Then he looked at the clover. He decided to stay put, as it was peaceful here. Just as the influencer's car appeared on the horizon, the sky did something that wasn't in the planned schedule of the day. The sun was swallowed by a dark, heavy purple cloud. The wind started to howl, and it grew to a roar of a literal gale. The perfect flag became a whip, snapping violently against the stone silos. The rustic barn doors, which were held on by decorative hinges rather than sturdy bolts, began to rattle. The other sheep, that were in the middle of the open field, had all panicked. They had been moved away from the shelter of the trees and the shade. As the rain turned into a torrential downpour, they slipped in the mud of the freshly tilled soil. Farmer Silas screamed as his tractor was blown into the creek. He tried to save the whipping flag, but the wind was too strong. The grand towers, the pillars of his pride, did nothing to stop the rain. They were only tall landmarks and not shelters. Throughout the downpour, Barnaby didn't run. He knew this fence he was near. He knew this patch of earth. He lowered his center of gravity and tucked his head against the sturdy post of the white fence, the only thing Silas had actually built to last. When the storm had finally passed, the twin silos farm had become a mess. The flag had become a rag that was caught in a tree. The two towers were covered with mud from the rain. The influencer's SUV had driven right past Silo Farm, not wanting to get their tires and car dirty in a place that no longer looked like a nice place to take a picture. Farmer Silas sat on a stump, his head in his hands. He looked up to see Barnaby, still standing in the same spot. The sheep was soaked and wet, but yet he was content and full. He had eaten the very best clover just before the rain had ruined it, and he had used the fence as a windbreaker while the others were chasing the golden hour. Barnaby let out a singular dry baa. The moral: high towers catch the strongest gales, while those on solid ground enjoy the sweetest clover.